What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be going through my way too early power rankings for the SEC in 2026. I'm going to be ranking these SEC teams based off how good I think they'll be next season from 16 to number 1. So let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. All the way at number 16, I think the worst team in the SEC is going to be Arkansas. Arkansas was better than their 2-10 record showed in 2025. They had a very good offense with Taylor Green. They managed to come close to winning a few more games. They had some close games, but the defense was very bad. And I do not love the new pickup of Ryan Silverfield. He's an alright name, but he's not a big name, and I don't know if he's going to be ready to do this at the SEC level with a roster that really needs help. They're losing Taylor Green and some of their top players from last season, and I just don't see this team having much going for them, so I do have them at 16. Number 15, I do have Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby's program did take a step forward last season, and they came close to a bowl game as they did win 5 games. Another class of solid transfers should help, and Camario Taylor is a rising star at quarterback. Zach Arnett is returning as the defensive coordinator. This is a Mississippi State defense that really needs to improve if they want to take the right strides. I do think one of their strengths will be that backfield, but ultimately the SEC is going to be a tough conference. I'm not putting them any higher. I have them at 15. I don't love their head coach. Number 14, I do have Vanderbilt. The development of 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis as a true freshman is really going to tell if this team can stay in the top of the SEC. Because losing a guy like Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers at tight end, that is very hard to replace because they were the key focuses to that offense, and that can make a huge difference losing guys like that. Vanderbilt may have just been lucky with the season last year, and can they carry over that momentum? They also lost some key pieces at wide receiver, and I don't know if they're going to be able to be a team that can just reload. Head coach Clark Lee has showed that he could coach football, but it's going to be a tough rebuild this season, and I do expect some steps back for Vanderbilt. And I do expect some growing pains with the young quarterback Jared Curtis. They did get a lot of transfers, but they don't have the best transfer class, so it's really going to be coming down to can they rebuild in 1 year? And with a team like Vanderbilt, who has not been known for being great in the SEC, I don't know if they can get it done. I have them at 14. Number 13, I do have Auburn. Although I do have Auburn at number 13, they are one of my sleepers heading into next season. I would not be surprised if they took a step forward, possibly were a sneaky playoff contender. Alex Golesh is a guy that turned South Florida from a 1-win team to a double-digit win team in just a couple of seasons. The only reason I'm not ranking them higher is because he is bringing over a ton of his roster from South Florida, and I don't know if the group of 5 talent is going to cut it at a high level in the SEC. And I still think there's some things Auburn needs to improve on, and they lost some key pieces like Cam Coleman and some of those receivers. I do like the quarterback though, it gives them hope. Byron Brown is a very talented guy with a great arm. He's a guy that is very similar to Cam Newton, just not on the same level. So maybe Auburn gets a generational quarterback again. But like I said, replacing guys like Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton is going to be tough, and I don't know if these South Florida receivers are going to cut it. A revamped offensive and defensive line is a concern as well. Alex Golesh has potential, but I don't think it's going to be a year 1 turnaround like it could be for some other teams in the SEC. So right now I do have Auburn at number 13. It's a new era in Lexington with rising star and offensive mind Will Stein at head coach. Mark Stoops managed to do okay work at Kentucky for a team that wasn't great. Kentucky has been the bottom of the SEC, just like Vanderbilt. But with a guy like Will Stein and the work he's doing in the portal, they could definitely turn it around. This is a different era of college football. Some of these teams that have been down, they can rise up like a Kentucky. And I really love the quarterback pickup of Kenny Minchey, a guy that was in a close battle with CJ Carr, who ended up being good at Notre Dame. Kenny Minchey is a young, talented guy, and they got some other very talented transfer portal players like CJ Baxter at running back. I think the offensive line is going to be a key piece as they got Lance Hurd, Colston Bryce, some very good offensive linemen from the portal. I really think Stein's work in the portal could push this team to a bowl game potentially. The defense has not been bad the last few years. They've been somewhat consistent. If they can just get some offensive rhythm and Kenny Minchey can be that guy at quarterback, I do think they will go bowling. I do have them at number 12. At number 11, I have South Carolina. South Carolina should be a pretty improved team next season. And yes, 11 doesn't seem like too high in the SEC, but there's going to be a lot of teams in the SEC that are winning 7, 8, 9 games, even more than that. But I expect South Carolina to have a winning season. I like the new play caller of Kendon Briles. Now, Lenora Sellers coming back at quarterback is a huge get. and they also returned Dylan Stewart, their best defensive player. And they got NC State transfer offensive tackle Jacorius Peak, a guy that is arguably the best offensive lineman out of the portal if it's not Jordan Seaton. That is a huge get for a South Carolina offensive line that is struggling. If South Carolina just had a good offensive line last season, they could have been in a lot more games. They could have went bowling because this is a team with some good talent. And I do think they will get some momentum going next season. They have a good head coach, and this team does not stay down with them. So give me South Carolina at number 11. I think they'll be improved. At number 10, I have Missouri. I think the consistency with Eli Drinkwitz will continue. He is 29-10 over the last 3 seasons. And I think they got their quarterback to keep the momentum going, maybe even take a step forward, who knows. Austin Simmons is that guy, I believe. He's not as good as Trinidad Chambliss as he got beat out, but the dude was balling before his injury. And getting beat out by a guy like Trinidad Chambliss is not bad. He ended up being a top 5 quarterback. Missouri also has a very, very strong backfield with Ahmad Hardy back and Jamal Roberts, a ground game that led the SEC with 228 yards a contest. They have a strong foundation in the trenches. I think there's no reason the success does not continue. They should be around an 8 to 9 win team maybe, and I like Eli Drinkwitz in this squad again. I have them at 10. Number 9, I have Tennessee. It has been an up and down spiral hill with this team. One year they're really good on offense, the next year they're really good on defense, but they cannot get both sides to click. They have had more consistency on offense, but with Joey Aguilar not coming back at quarterback, there could be some concerns. I don't know if George McIntyre is going to be that good. He's still a young guy with a lot to prove, but the defense is expected to take steps forward with some huge transfers coming in and a good defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles. I do think Josh Heupel's a good coach. He has kept his team extremely consistent in the SEC, even made a playoff appearance. And they're kind of in the same conversation as Missouri. I don't see them being a bottom team in the SEC. And I just think they're too talented, and for that reason, I do have them at number 9, and certainly a contender for the playoffs. At number 8, I have Oklahoma. And while they do have John Mateer back and some huge hope for next season, there is still one area of concern that I think is going to hold this team down, and it is the offensive line and that run game, because they did not make any necessary improvements. And with that weakness, I don't see this team taking a step forward, and they might fall back because of some tough games. Although John Mateer is a good quarterback, he'll be more healthy, and they got some good receivers coming in from the portal. There's still questions on that offense. The defense should be in good hands with Brent Venables, but they did lose a couple of key pieces and a good defensive coordinator. It's safe to assume Oklahoma will be back and be a good team again, but I don't know if they can ascend to being a top team in the SEC. It's safe to assume Oklahoma will be back next season, and they will be a good team in the SEC, but it's hard to believe that they will ascend and take a step forward. And at number 7, I have Alabama. They're kind of in the same conversation as Oklahoma. They got a lot of talent, they have some pieces, but I don't see them having the right moves to take that step forward. They are in the same boat as Oklahoma. The run game, the offensive line, it's a huge concern, more specifically the run game. I do think they have the better coaching staff. They'll probably find decent quarterback play from either Keelan Russell or Austin Mack. Austin Mack is a guy with potential. He was balling out at times last season. But losing Ty Simpson and some of those NFL pieces is going to hurt, and Alabama has lost their elite level play. I only have Alabama at number 7. I don't see them making the playoffs again next year. Mike Elko has kept this Texas A&M team trending up. I have them at number 6. And with quarterback Marcel Reed back and a very solid receiving group of Mario Craver and Alabama transfer Isaiah Horton, there is huge potential for that offense again. The trenches on both sides of the ball should be a strength again. They had a very good transfer portal class. But replacing Colin Klein as the offensive coordinator is going to be tough. And I think a lot of people could be undervaluing that and the success for Texas A&M next season. If it wasn't for that A&M offense last season, they would have not been an 11-win team. Because their offense kept them in a lot of games. They won that shootout against South Carolina. And when the defense wasn't playing good, the offense could keep them in games most of the time. But they have to replace some pieces, and losing their offensive coordinator is going to be a big hurt. I do think they'll be good again, but ultimately, I don't know if they're going to make it back to the playoffs. I have them at number 6. One of my biggest sleepers, if not my biggest sleeper for next season, is the Florida Gators. I love this staff, and I have great expectations for what they are going to do next season. In just one offseason, they have built one of the most succeeding staffs in all of college football, and that is not an overstatement. Buster Faulkner has experience on the offensive staff at Georgia in 2021-2022, the national title teams. He also led Georgia Tech the last couple of seasons to be very explosive. And he's going to be the offensive coordinator, and he brings in the backup quarterback from Georgia Tech last season, a guy who I think is underrated and a decent passer, more so than Haynes King. He's been very efficient, and that guy is Aaron Philo. They also return one of the top backs in the SEC in Jaden Bogg, and they have two five-star receivers coming up in Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, and they got a very talented receiver out of the portal in Eric Singleton. The offensive line is a work in progress, but they made some moves in the portal, and this is a young defense, and this defense was not bad last season. They are nearly top of the country in return in production, and more specifically, they got a head coach, a guy who I'm very high on in John Sumrall, who went to 4 consecutive conference title games for Troy 2 seasons and Tulane 2 seasons. I know he did it at the Group of 5 level, but that is still a huge success. I think these moves from Florida is really going to result in a successful 2026 season, and I think they will be right there in the playoff conversation. Number 4, I have Ole Miss. With Trinidad Chambliss coming back and a lot of offensive talent, I expect this team to go nowhere. I think Pete Golden is going to be that guy to take over. I think he'll build a foundation on defense, and I love what they did in the portal. They might be a bit worse. Losing an offensive mind like Lane Kiffin might hurt, but they should still be really good. I love this Ole Miss team. They should bounce back, and I have them at 4. Speaking of Lane Kiffin, the new LSU head coach, I have LSU at number 3. I think they are going to be very improved, just like Florida. Not only do I think LSU will make the playoffs, I think they are a sneaky team to compete for the national title. What Lane Kiffin is doing in the portal is incredible, and I think Sam Leavitt is the guy at quarterback. I think he's the best playmaker at quarterback they could have got out of the portal, as this guy is a great playmaker. They also got the number 1 offensive tackle in Jordan Seaton, and the number 1 edge in Prince William Yellen. They got very experienced pieces at every level, and they are truly 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver. I am really high on LSU. Lane Kiffin is going to elevate that offense in no time. He has showed his ability to rebuild in one season using the portal, and I think he's going to do the same at LSU. And with the NIL resources, he has even more potential to succeed at LSU. I really think Lane Kiffin is an underrated head coach. Number 2, I have Georgia. Kirby Smart and this team is not going anywhere, and they actually have good return in production and their quarterback back. That is scary for college football. Gunnar Stockton is extremely underrated. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks with a great QBR. They got multiple reliable running backs coming back. The defense continued to improve last season, holding their teams to 17 points a game, and there's a lot back on defense. Replacing Zachariah Branch is going to be one thing that could hurt the offense, as he was a huge point to that offense last season. Ultimately, I don't think Georgia is the better all-around team than the team I have at number 1. And at number 1, I do have Texas. This team has an extremely talented roster. They have the quarterback back in Arch Manning, who is showing growth, and potentially one of the best 1-2s at wide receiver, and 5-star Ryan Wingo, and a guy in Cam Coleman who has so much potential, also a 5-star, who they got out of the portal. Not to mention 2 1,000-yard backs in Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers transferring over. The defense has been pretty good under Steve Sarkisian at Texas. Despite a struggling 2025 season, they still managed to get to 10 wins. And I think that shows how good of a coaching staff this team has and how gritty of a team they are. There's just too much talent for this team to stay down, and they should be right back in the national title picture next season. And I do think they could win the SEC. I have them at 1. But anyways, that will do it for my 2026 SEC predictions. Way too early. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. And let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below, where you can join my membership for $5 a month, and that will include exclusive perks, including talking college football with me on Saturday mornings, which would be in my Discord server before the games start. So check out my membership. But that will do it, guys, and peace out.